The accident. When, where, and how? On Wednesday, the 27th of August, Chris Froome, the multiple Tour de France champion, Giro d'Italia winner, and the Vuelta a España victor, set out on what should have been an ordinary training ride. The Côte d'Azur roads near Saint Raphael, just up the coastline from his residence in Monaco. They are his backyard. These are the same Mediterranean loops that he's traversed countless times over 2 decades of his professional career. Yet on this day, they betrayed him. The initial reports confirm the crash happened in the early afternoon, though the exact minute has never been publicly released. Eyewitnesses were absent, and Froome was riding alone. Team cars or fellow pros were nowhere in sight. When the emergency call went out, it was already serious enough to require an air ambulance helicopter to lift him directly from the roadside and fly him to the trauma unit at Toulon Hospital, about an hour inland. That detail alone struck fear across the cycling world. Helicopter evacuation are not for scrapes or collarbones. They're reserved for life-threatening situations. So what happened? The official team statement is frustratingly vague. Quote, "No other cyclists or vehicles were involved." That narrows the possibilities, but leaves unsettling ambiguity. Did he misjudge a decent corner? Did a gust of mistrail wind catch his front wheel? Did a minor mechanical, a snapped front wheel spoke, a seized brake, even a tyre blowout, fling him into the tarmac? Those questions remain unanswered, and his family have asked for privacy while he recovers. Yet the silence leaves room for speculation. Froome, meticulous as he is, doesn't take risks lightly. Something unusual must have occurred for such catastrophic consequences. The geography matters here. The VAR region roads wind through coastal cliffs and Vineland ridges. Asphalt is smooth but punctuated by sudden bends, damp patches from the sea mist, and the occasional gravel washed across lanes by summer storms. Froome's 2019 Dauphiné crash was caused by a freak gust while he was riding no hands to blow his nose. 6 years later, the eerie repetition, again a solo accident, again during training, again catastrophic. It's chilling. When you've already survived one near fatal training crash, how do you reconcile a second? The accident scene has not been made public. No images leaked, no locals filmed. The secrecy is perhaps merciful, preserving his dignity, but it heightens the mystique. Fans are left imagining Froome alone on a sunlit French road, one moment pedalling, and the next moment broken. What is certain? The helicopter lifted off within minutes, and by the time he reached Toulon's trauma centre, Froome was stable enough for scans. The alarm was real. For cycling fans still haunted by June 2019, the news triggered déjà vu. How many times can one body endure the violence of asphalt? Quote, Froome to undergo surgery after fracturing back in training crash. The Times of India said, quote, Tour de France champion Chris Froome suffers serious crash. El País said, quote, Chris Froome hospitalizado tras accidente mientras entrenaba. The injuries, what the scans revealed. When Froome arrived at Toulon Hospital, he was immediately rushed into imaging. CT scans and X-rays painted a devastating picture. Pneumothorax, collapsed lung basically, 5 fractured ribs, 1 fractured lumbar vertebrae. Thankfully, no cranial trauma. The pneumothorax was the first priority. A collapsed lung restricts oxygen exchange, leading to suffocation if untreated. In Froome's case, it was almost certainly managed with a chest tube, an invasive but life-saving procedure where a plastic drain is inserted into the pleural cavity to allow trapped air to escape. The presence of broken ribs, sharp and unstable, makes such injuries doubly dangerous. Bone fragments can puncture the lung tissue or even lacerate arteries. The rib fractures are both painful and risky. For a normal patient, 5 broken ribs can immobilize breathing, increase pneumonia risk, and take months to heal. For an athlete whose livelihood depends on rib cage expansion for oxygen delivery, the prognosis is more complicated. Every deep breath, every laugh, even shifting in bed is agony. Without proper analgesia, he risks shallow breathing and infection. With too much pain medication, he risks suppression of his already compromised respiratory system. The lumbar vertebrae fracture raised alarm about neurological risk. Thankfully, the team statements reassured fans there was no spinal cord damage, but vertebrae are load-bearing bones. They stabilize posture and transmit pedaling force. Surgical fixation is screws and rods, and it was able to inevitably prevent the collapse. The worry isn't just healing though, it's whether he can return to the aggressive flexion extension demanding by racing bicycles. Premier Tech confirmed, quote, "Fortunately, Chris is stable and did not sustain any head injuries. However, scans have confirmed a pneumothorax, 5 broken ribs, and a lumbar vertebrae fracture, for which he will undergo surgery this afternoon." That blunt catalogue of injuries reads like a car crash report, yet Froome's survival instinct is uncanny. 6 years earlier, he endured a shattered femur, sternum, ribs, and pelvis. To see him again broken, yet again conscious and communicative, borders on miraculous, guys. Doctors emphasize timelines cautiously. For an average 40-year-old, recovery might mean 6 months of limited mobility, with long-term consequences like chronic pain or stiffness. For Froome, who already carries the scar tissues of 2019, it could mean the effective end of his professional career. And yet, he has already defied doctors before. That paradox fuels both hope and dread. The cycling community's initial relief that there was no head trauma quickly gave way to sobering realism. A collapsed lung, fractured ribs, and a vertebrae damage are not trivial. These are injuries measured in months, not weeks. Froome's career calendar is suddenly blank, his season wiped clean. Whether he'll return at all is no longer a sporting question, but a medical one. Toulon Hospital and the surgery. By Thursday afternoon, less than 24 hours after the crash, Froome was wheeled into Toulon Hospital's surgical wing. According to both Reuters and Spanish Daily AS, the operation was deemed unavoidable. Surgeons needed to stabilize the fractured vertebrae and inspect rib alignment. With the lung compromised, anesthetic risks were high, but time was critical. The procedure was reported as successful. Metalwork, screws, rods or plates likely now holds his lumbar spine in place. Rib fractures, usually left to heal naturally, may have required stabilization too if displacement threatened lung tissue. For the pneumothorax chest tubes, they would have remained in place throughout his whole surgery. The team later posted reassurance, quote, "Chris successfully underwent surgery this afternoon. The procedures went as planned, and Chris is currently recovering in hospital under the care of his medical team." His family said, quote, "He is in good spirits and grateful for the excellent medical support he has received. Chris and his family would like to thank fans, friends, and the cycling community for their concern and kind messages during this time." Thanks for watching today's video, guys. It's truly unbelievable what's just happened, as only yesterday I made a video about his training. He was actually caught up with by Artem, the YouTuber and cyclist, who made a video doing interval training with him. And literally the next day I made that video, I heard this news, and people were commenting on my video from yesterday because technically the crash happened before today, and I was just like, oh my goodness me, I look so silly. I'm making a video about his training and here he is like in hospital getting airlifted and I haven't said a thing. So I just had to make a video on this to clear some things up and go over some of the details. Please leave a like on today's video for a get well soon to Chris Froome, and also comment down below your opinions and any more news you have about this that I may have missed out. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already to stay up to date with the latest cycling news, cycling drama and cycling results, and be sure to tune in for my next video tomorrow.